true awakening of consciousness begins when you stop seeing your flaws as mistakes and embrace them as essential lessons for your spiritual evolution. Every flaw is a sign from the universe, guiding you toward the path you are meant to follow. Do you believe the path to inner peace happens overnight? If you do, this video is for you. If you don't, congratulations, this video is still for you. Imagine being so close to your inner evolution, but having invisible traps blocking your path. Today, I will reveal the secrets that a spiritual master shared on how to identify and overcome these blocks that hinder your growth. One day, in a crowded audience, a young man approached Sadhguru with a restlessness that echoes in the hearts of many spiritual seekers. With eyes full of hope and anguish, he declared, "I feel like I'm sabotaging my spiritual growth, but I don't know where I'm going wrong." The master looked at him, expressed an enigmatic smile, and responded in a way that might seem simple at first glance, but carried profound wisdom. You can avoid mistakes simply by choosing not to repeat them. And in a flash of humor, he added, "But in reality, you will need to make these mistakes about 3 more times to really identify them, map them, and understand their origin." Sadhguru continued, revealing a key secret to spiritual growth: constant surveillance. You will have to be aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your behavior. It is not a search for immediate perfection, but a process of self-knowledge and self-reflection. Although he could not pinpoint exactly what specific mistake the young man was making, the master shared that there are common mistakes that every spiritual seeker faces, from beginners to the most experienced. Do you really want to uncover the internal mechanisms that hold you back on your journey? Do you want to learn to be vigilant with your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors? Pay full attention to the upcoming revelations. Every word you hear could be the key to unlocking your deepest spiritual potential. There are invisible traps that hijack your spiritual energy. Imagine an internal enemy so powerful that it can manipulate your emotions, your thoughts, and your decisions without you realizing it. That's your ego, your false self. Sadhguru continued, "The first major trap in our spiritual journey lies in a subtle and powerful layer, the ego. This aspect of our personality is not something to be destroyed, but understood in its multiple manifestations that can sabotage our inner growth. The first trap of the ego is excessive identification with external elements, your self-image, social status, and possessions. Imagine the ego as a skilled fisherman, setting his hooks through praise and criticism. When you are praised, you inflate with vanity. When criticized, he plunges into frustration. Both reactions are traps that lower your vibrational frequency. These selfish thoughts from your lower self quickly take control of your emotions and behavior. It's like an invisible barrier that rises up, preventing you from genuinely connecting with your inner self and those around you. One day I met Raphael. I remember his name well because he puffed out his chest and told me that he dedicated hours to meditation and spiritual reading, but he didn't feel like he was becoming superior. Well, let's analyze your speech. What he sought with spiritual readings and practices was to satisfy the desire of his own ego, convinced that he was above others in terms of consciousness. He didn't realize that this feeling of superiority was a trap of the ego, the same ego he was trying to overcome. As Eckhart Tolle said, the ego does not disappear because you become spiritual, he just changes his mask. The second trap of the ego is the fear of judgment. Sadhguru emphasized that fear and doubt represent the lowest frequency we can tune into. If you don't believe in the power of frequencies, simply observe what fear produces. It completely limits the authentic expression of your inner self and paralyzes your ability to make important decisions. The third and perhaps most subtle ego trap is comparison. Here is the definitive proof of a weakened ego: the constant need to compare yourself. Many will say, "I don't compare myself," but the truth is that the moment you define your identity according to earthly standards, you are already subject to the destructive cycle of comparisons. This constant comparison generates a cascade of negative feelings: dissatisfaction, frustration, inadequacy. And the most pernicious, these feelings act as a vibrational barrier that blocks the flow between your conscious mind and the cosmic dimension of your inner self. The ego never goes away. because it is part of who we are. True freedom comes not from fighting it, but from recognizing it and seeing beyond it. When you understand this, you begin to realize how much your actions are guided by fears and desires masked by the ego, and that's when transformation happens. Once you discover that the ego is a mechanism that helps the higher consciousness recognize your internal blocks, pointing out fears, insecurities, emotional hang-ups, your game changes and genuine peace appears. If you want to leave the video now, you can, because after this revelation, you will never need to read any other self-help or spirituality book again. If you want to go deeper, I invite you to turn off your critical mind and stay focused, as the secret is always between the lines. Recapping what has already happened, the 3 ego-devastating strategies that destroy your spiritual growth. First, the self-image trap, how your praise and criticism can be real hooks that trap you. Second, the fear of judgment, how doubt limits your authentic expression. Third, the comparison trap, how you unconsciously sabotage yourself by comparing yourself to others. Many believe that their thoughts are faithful reflections of reality and accept them as absolute truths. John used to repeat to himself, "I'll never be able to meditate. My mind is too agitated." This thought, which seemed so real, became an insurmountable barrier, until he read a book by Byron Katie where he learned to question his thoughts. He asked himself, "Is it true that I can't meditate?" The answer was revealing. It was just a story he told himself. In the third part of our spiritual dive, we will unveil the most complex and programmed layer of our being, the mind. Let's see. This is the only territory you need and want to dominate. The good news is that this territory is already yours. You just need to clean it. The bad news is that it has been shaped since childhood by a tangle of limiting beliefs, which will from simple narratives like "you can't fly" to more dense constructs like deeply held religious and social beliefs. However, we already know how to identify these barriers through the ego, and soon we will know how to destroy them. The first trap of the mental layer is the negative thinking, a real poison for your spiritual evolution. If you understood the real power of negative thinking and the harm it causes, you would run from it as if you were running from a hungry lion. Scientifically proven, negative thinking attracts negative realities into your life 4 times faster. To illustrate this destructive power, I share a revealing personal story. My wife, then fiancée, was pregnant with our first child. In the months leading up to the birth, she spiraled into negative thoughts. I watched videos of cesarean sections, obsessively talked about the risks, read detailed articles about surgical procedures. A local event further intensified their fears, a widely reported death due to medical negligence at our city hospital. My wife, overcome by fear, insisted on walking every afternoon, repeating, "I don't want to have surgery." Ironically, our son Joseph was born on the last day of induced labor, with complications that required an emergency cesarean section. The second mental trap is ruminating the past, an evil that has already affected 99.9% of people or will affect it. 80% of the world's population suffers from this blockage that harbors emotional trauma and can lead to depression. The past cannot interfere with your present or determine your future. Wisdom is in extracting the lesson and moving on. Your brain is the hardware, your mind is the software, and your thoughts are the programs. See if your thoughts are produced by your mind based on previously cataloged data, such as 4. The third and most subtle trap of the mind is anxiety for the future. She acts discreetly, causing real internal nightmares. Excessive comparison, loss of the present moment, all symptoms of this mental trap. The future is an illusion, a mental projection of the infinite possibilities that human beings dream of controlling. What if the thoughts you most believe to be true are deceiving you? Belief systems, for example. So to change our thoughts, we just need to change the database we use to generate thoughts, question them to produce new beliefs, or connect your conscious mind to the cosmic mind, which is the superior mind. And therein lies the secret to true peace and freedom. When we are not present in the now, emotions can be a silent minefield capable of destroying your spiritual evolution. We reach the most delicate and powerful layer, the universe of emotions. Here we discover traps so subtle that they require a refined level of wisdom to truly understand. The first emotional trap is the denial of emotions. a minefield that requires skill and courage to navigate. When you feel angry or sad, how do you handle those emotions? Do you allow negative thoughts to dominate you, or do you seek higher consciousness for guidance during these moments? The key is not to repress, but to channel. Anger can be transformed into energy through intense sport or a challenging task, producing absurd concentration. Sadness, this overwhelming frequency that emits lack and denounces the scarcity of joy, needs to be processed and given new meaning quickly, ideally in less than 5 minutes. The fundamental principle is, don't cultivate negative emotions, but don't repress them either. All emotions need to be harnessed and channeled to accomplish something constructive. The second trap is autopilot, perhaps the most subtle of all. This mental state camouflages traumas, emotional blocks, and limiting beliefs implanted to destroy your spiritual ascension. It's like the famous Lion King song, Hakuna Matata, "Forget your troubles," that makes us lose our identity and live far from our divine purpose. And here you don't want to be because you're on autopilot in your emotions. It's like you're on a sailboat with no route or captain to navigate. And here are more than 68% of the people on Earth. The third and deepest emotional trap is lack of compassion. Don't confuse compassion with pity. Compassion is genuine love for others, capable of performing miracles never seen before. It is one of the greatest powers within the human being. Practicing compassion daily, first for yourself, then for others, will cause an immediate increase in your energy. It operates like a quantum key that releases internal blockages and reconnects you with your highest essence. Your spiritual journey is not about perfection, but about conscious transformation. Every emotion, every thought, every moment is an opportunity for growth. Are you ready to unlock your true potential? Everything you need to access the peace and purpose you seek is already within you. It is not the ego, the external world, or your thoughts that hold you back. It is your identification with them. The key is to observe, accept, and release without attachment. When you stop fighting these forces and start seeing them as part of the human experience, true transformation emerges. Think for a moment. What if what you've been searching for your whole life was available right now? Right now. The relief, peace, and silence you feel when you let go of control is indescribable. It's like a fog lifts, revealing a clarity you never knew existed. And in that moment, you realize that you don't need to be perfect or have all the answers. Just be present. Choose the next step in your journey. Recognize the traps that block your spiritual growth. This is the first step. The next step is simple but transformative. Take a moment to look within. Set aside 5 minutes today to meditate or reflect on what truly matters to you. Share in the comments how you navigate the challenges we've discussed. Your story could inspire someone else. You will be surprised by the result, and you will see that these simple gestures can be what the other person needs to hear to continue their journey and not give up. The spiritual journey is not about being perfect or reaching an ideal state. It's about learning, growing, and connecting with the present moment, even with life's imperfections. Remember, transformation begins the moment you choose to listen to your inner truth. If this video touched you in any way, like and share it so that more people can free themselves from these traps and start a lighter and more conscious journey. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to continue your journey of spiritual awakening. I challenge you to comment on at least 3 blocks that were deceiving your thoughts and stealing your energy.